We are a month away from David Benavidez versus David Morell Jr. That fight takes place February 1st, 2025. And I'm extremely excited for this fight. The reason why is because, for those that don't know, man, David Morell, he's been calling out David Benavidez for the long time. The same way that we've seen David Benavidez call out Canelo Alvarez showing up to his fights, basically telling everybody that, Canelo was scared to fight him. David Morell has been doing the same thing to David Benavidez. Like, David Morell, he's wanted that smoke for a very long time. He was calling out Benavidez the whole time they both were fighting at 168, and we all know that David Benavidez in his last fight, he moved up to 175, which is light heavyweight, and he won by unanimous decision. Even though a lot of people feel like David's power didn't translate, they feel like David wasn't as dominant as he usually is. I think David made easy work of the guy. He did get touched up. His face looked pretty beat up after the fight. But, I mean, David Benavidez, in my opinion, he won every round of that fight. But David Morell, when he saw David Benavidez move up to 175, Morell decided to move up to 175. And he had his first fight against Hot Rod, right? Now, I don't like how David Morell looked against Hot Rod. I think Hot Rod had a lot of success. I think that was actually a close fight. I still gave the fight to Morell, but Morell just didn't have too much success, landing shots. He didn't really even hurt Hot Rod too much. And I think he experienced some similar things that Benavidez experienced in his first fight at 175. And now for these guys' his second fight at 175, they're fighting each other. Now, off rip, I gotta say that I feel like David Benavidez is gonna win this fight based off of experience. I mean, David Morell only has 11 professional fights on his record. Since he turned pro, David Morell literally only has 11 fights, right? Now, with that being said, a majority of his fights have been won by KO, but they're against guys that people don't know, right? He has a lot of KOs on that 11 fight record against bums. You understand what I'm saying? So I can't give credit. I can't give too much credit to David Morell. Now, when you look at David Benavidez, right? David Benavidez knocked out Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. You know what I'm saying? He beat the shit out of Caleb Plant, right? Shout out to Caleb Plant, who's actually one of my favorite boxers. He knocked out Anthony Durrell, who was champion at the time, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like Anthony Durrell, I actually feel like Anthony Durrell was winning that fight, but David Benavidez was hitting him so much that he split open Anthony Durrell's eyelid, which Anthony Durrell has had issues with in the past as well. And the fight was pretty much stopped because of that, right? It's not like David Benavidez just knocked him out like Caleb Plant did. Caleb Plant actually knocked out Anthony Durrell. But the fight was stopped. But up until that point where the fight was stopped, it looked like David Benavidez was indeed on his way to knock out Anthony Durrell. So I'm picking the Mexican Monster to win this fight. I think he's just simply going to outbox David Morell. David Morell, I think he has a lot to work on as far as his skill. David Morell is kind of similar. Like, David Morell is very flat-footed, right? He's not good at moving around the ring. And David Benavidez, he's just a better overall boxer. David Benavidez has good footwork. He throws a lot of combinations. He has a good jab, right? He has punching power. Obviously, we didn't see that power I didn't see David Benavidez's natural power that I'm used to seeing when he had his first fight against Gwobsdik at 175. But I'm going to give David Benavidez the credit and say that was because of injury, right? Because his dad said he was injured. David Benavidez said he was injured. And the fact that he was able to dominate a light heavyweight in his debut at light heavyweight in dominant fashion, he won every single round. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, man. And I think that he's going to beat David Morell. But what I'm interested to see is, I want to see if David Benavidez is going to stand in the middle of the ring with David Morell. Because one thing we have to say, David Morell has punching power, right? He has power in those hands. And I'm interested to see how David Benavidez handles that power at 175, because when you look at David Benavidez's first fight at 175 against Gvozdyk, right? He was feeling those punches, right? Like, there was points in the fight where we actually saw David Benavidez moving backwards. He wasn't really throwing at all towards the later rounds of the fight, and he started moving backwards. And I think it was because he was just feeling the power at 175. I don't think he was used to it. I think it was hurting him. If you look at David Benavidez's fight after that fight, his face was bruised up. And I'm interested to see, how is he going to handle David Morell, who is a knockout artist? How is he going to handle David Morell landing shots on him at light heavyweight, right? Is there a possibility that David Benavidez is going to get dropped? It's possible. Is there a possibility that David Benavidez can get knocked out? It's possible. And that's what I want to see. Like, is David Benavidez going to use his feet? Is he going to do a lot of moving around the ring? Or is he going to stand in the middle of the ring with Morell and just throw shots? Because if that happens, somebody's going to get dropped, right? I would even say somebody's going to get knocked out, right? If this is one of those matches like Canelo and Triple G the first time they fought, where these guys is just standing toe-to-toe, somebody going to get dropped, man. And, I would be a little worried about my boy Benavidez if that's the case, because, we're used to seeing Benavidez, especially when he was at 168, because a lot of people feel like Benavidez was too big at 168, right? Even Canelo said it, like, he's tall, he has very long arms. We're used to seeing Benavidez bully people at 168. Like, we're used to seeing Benavidez stand in the middle of the ring. He walks opponents down. He throws a bunch of combinations and he drops people. He knocks out people. You feel me? Like, we seen him do that to Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. But we also have to remember that was Demetrius Andrade, right? Like this is a guy who was at 147, then he went to 154, and then he went to 168. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people feel like Demetrius Andrade should have never been at 168. I'm one of those people as well. I think he should have stayed at 154. But David Morell, he's a naturally bigger guy, right? It's not like David Morell is coming up from a smaller weight class. Nah, he was at 168. He was chasing Benavidez. Benavidez wouldn't give him a fight. So Benavidez moved up. David Morell moved up, right? They're both on PBC, right? They both got the same first name. And I think Morell is coming into this fight with the chip on his shoulder, like, hey, this guy's been ducking me. I've been calling this guy out for years, and I'm going to show y'all why he's been ducking me. You know what I'm saying? Because before this fight was even officially announced, I remember David Benavidez went on Twitter and said that it wasn't true when he was fighting somebody else, right? And then like a month or two later, they said the fight with Morell was happening. And I was like, that's a little weird, right? Like, did Benavidez not want to fight Morell because he's afraid of him, right? Like, I'm just being honest, right? And I'm saying this as a Benavidez fan. And also, when you look at the press conferences with this fight, David Benavidez has been a little out of character, man. We've seen David Benavidez push David Morell. It seems like Morell is in Benavidez's head, man. David, he seems really pissed off. He seems like he really doesn't like this guy. Maybe he's just doing this to promote the fight so it can sell more pay-per-views. But I don't know, man. I mean, Benavidez, like, he didn't even seem this mad when he fought Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant and Benavidez, they actually had real beef before they fought. Like, those guys really didn't like each other. David Morell and Benavidez, they haven't really had any problems before this fight got made. The only thing was Morell was calling him out. So I'm still trying to figure out, why does Benavidez seem so personally hurt by David Morell? Like, why does he feel the need to push him? And, I think that's very interesting. So I don't know, man. I can't wait to see this fight, man. Like I said, I got to go with Benavidez, the Mexican Monster. I got him winning this fight by unanimous decision. I don't have Benavidez knocking Morell out. I think if somebody gets knocked out in this fight, it's going to be Benavidez, right? If anybody was to win this fight by KO, it's going to be Morell, right? But I just think Benavidez just has too much experience. He's too skillful. I think he's going to break Morell down. I could even see him dropping David Morell at least once or twice. And I think he's going to win this fight in decisive fashion. Let me know what you guys think about this fight. What's your prediction? It's your boy Wavy. I'm out.